Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Craig here from Bass Lessons Melbourne and welcome to another Player Profile episode. Today I'm joined by Tim CURNICK, all the way down from Sydney.
Yep.
Welcome.
Thank you.
It's good to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
I'm glad we managed to line this up.
Yeah, worked out very well.
Yeah. So you're based in Sydney, but you're down in Melbourne, quite a lot recently.
Yep.
What's been happening that's brought you down here?
I've been looking at a lot of music down here for a long time and always liked it. I've got a lot of friends down here.
Okay.
And then last year I got asked to do a tour with Killing Heidi, who are based in Melbourne.
Okay.
And so we've been down here with them rehearsing and some gigs and stuff.
Yeah. With
them, and then just through that also finding a lot of musicians down here that I have a lot in common with and enjoy making music with.
Okay.
So, whenever I'm down here with them or with another band who are doing a show in Melbourne, I might stay a bit longer and hang out and do some other stuff and
cool.
Try and create some art.
Yeah, that's always a good goal. And last night you said you were doing the Uncomfortable Science.
Yeah, we did that at Boney,
yeah.
Which was very fun. We'd just done a day in the studio improvising, so like I said, we were like a bit pooped by the end of it. But
so maybe for people who don't know what Uncomfortable Science is, how would you sum it up?
It's like a semi-improvised night of music where there's a conductor who leads the band with a whiteboard with, say, chord changes or...
like on the fly?
Yeah, on the fly as we go. So they might write out a couple of chords and then...
Okay.
It's Lachlan Mitchell who runs it. And he would normally write some chords out and then we follow them, and after a while
something else happens.
So he has another idea and then...
Okay.
And then we...
And does he play as well, or...?
He's a musician, but he doesn't play on the night.
Okay.
He's a very talented musician, so he's got like a lot in his head. And
on his head.
He wasn't leading it last night, but he normally does. And yeah, it's a very great night of music.
Yeah.
It's very random, who knows who's going to be there and what the chords are going to be. But it was very fun, and so it was great to tie that in with the gig in with the day in the studio, and so sort of makes it worthwhile coming down and sort of load in as much as I can.
Yeah, and what was your studio session?
Just recording with James Bowers and Michael Wallace, just improvising. we just went in and mapped out some tempos and sort of improvised some grooves to that stuff.
So did you just kind of, get the call, hey, can you come down and...
No, I'd been talking with James. We've done a few gigs and we're both on the similar page musically, and we'd sort of thrown around a few ideas about maybe getting together and just improvising in the studio.
Yeah.
And the best way to do it, we didn't really know, so I just said, let's just book a day.
Yeah, just commit.
Yeah, I can come down, feel free, we can get a studio, or we can do a gig at night.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the good thing about the Uncomfortable Science gig, is that it's a gig on Tuesday that it's only booked a month in advance or something, so I can call up Lachy and say, hey, I'm going to be in town, can I, tee it all up,
Yeah.
Which is good. It's just sort of a nice little avenue to do a bit of extra playing.
So have you done much in the way of that kind of, like you were describing it early on, as a little bit like the kind of beat music vibe?
Yeah, I haven't done it like a lot, but I've always been into it, and a lot of the gigs that I've done have always had like a little improvised element to them. Mm-hmm. Like the sort of the working gigs in Sydney might be like, I don't know, say you're playing like a disco set or something, and then but there might be a moment where the band stretches out for a bit. Yeah. And so there's always been a bit of that in what I've been playing. So I suppose just feeling like there was an avenue and some people to do it with. I mean, I've got a band in Sydney that I've just started. It's a similar thing, but like guitar driven instead of keyboard driven. You know, so it's a bit more rocky and it gets a bit more dirgier or something when we get heavy.
What's that band called? It's
called Dingbats. That's that's who we're doing the Noah support with in a few weeks. So so that's like I've sort of just started to get more into
that stuff,
doing that improvised sort of stuff.
Yeah, because it's kind of a different. It's definitely a different approach than the classic jazz improvisation thing. And in terms of if you're thinking of playing over changes and stuff like that, it's not so much that, it's more maybe interactive. Yeah,
I've never done any of that like jazz stuff before, so I'm not a trained jazz musician. So I've always like enjoyed listening to it and then never really been able to like contribute to the conversation in that way. But like playing like grooves and making them up and stuff is something that I can do, and I like doing that. So it's like my jazz, I suppose, like, which is still improvising, but
exactly, it's just as valid.
Yeah, it's just another way of doing it, I suppose. And so I suppose just finding that voice that you're comfortable with, like when you're improvising as well, like not coming from a jazz world. I've never really done heaps of improvising and just purely on the focused on just improvising. So just finding a voice for it and some people that want to make it with you, I suppose. It's like, cool, great, this is a vibe, let's do it.
So how would you think, or do you practice it? I mean, like, would you sit at home with this kind of setup and...
No, I might practice making sounds.
So you know what colours you can...
Yeah, just so I'm aware of what comes out. But then also, like, I think the more you improvise with people, like you rehearse the improvisation, you get better at improvising and you get better at playing together. Yeah. It's like starting a relationship or something. It's like you work out, who goes to sleep at what time. Who likes to wake up at a certain time, and who likes their coffee, and whatever. You sort of work all that out, and then the more you do it, the better you are. I think there's all those bands from America those improvising bands that like your Beat Music or your Wayne Krantz or something. There's like a lot of history of them improvising together. Yeah. So when we hear it, it's like
play a lot.
There's a lot of that we hear. We hear that.
Sometimes that's hard to do in terms of playing, playing original music and stuff like that. It's hard to get 3 or 4 musicians and go, let's play lots,
Yeah, that's really hard, and that's like, I think that's why at the moment I've been doing a fair bit of it, because I've been like championing it a bit. I've been like, let's go. Yeah. And then like some other guys have been also on that same trip, so it's like a bit easier to. When you're like just a guy calling up a couple of other people and say, hey, do you want to just get together and jam, and then you do it once, and then unless you like unless there's a few people with like stoking the fire, it's gonna be pretty hard to maintain that, I think.
Definitely.
And everyone's got to be on the same page.
I think so.
And so finding people that are on the same page is half the challenge. I think.
That's number one.
And then getting them in the room is the next half of it.
And is there any kind of, I guess maybe bass players that you're looking at to draw some inspiration from in that realm?
Yeah, I don't think I listen to bass players as much as I listen to other instruments. I find like listening to bass players, I end up just sounding like the bass player that I'm listening to.
Okay.
And I feel like listening to like I know how to sort of, I don't know, I just don't get the vibe from that. I think like other instruments, it's like hearing their what they add harmonically or their textures is what sort of excites me. And then I know that if I contribute on the bass, then that other stuff can happen.
Okay.
Sort of think of it.
It's like a real team player perspective.
Yeah, I suppose like I think that's what happens when you're a bass player.
Yeah.
You sort of have an overarching view of what the band sounds like. And
you should do, hopefully.
Yeah. Not everyone does, but and I think I like produce a bit of music, and so I hear the whole picture a bit, so I know.
And you see it getting all put together as well.
Yeah, so I sort of get it. I feel like I have an understanding of maybe what needs to happen. So when I'm listening to stuff, it's like I'm hearing all the textures and flavors. Yeah. And then
you can like dissect it in your head.
Yeah, and then I know like I can, if I stay down here, then there's all this space for. I'm not sure if that. Yeah.
So you're more from a improvised composition perspective.
Yeah, I mean, there's other like bass players that have definitely influenced me like along the way.
Yeah. But not so much in this.
Not in that improvised thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, not like I haven't like listened to them as improvisers. I suppose I've heard them as.
And how much do you think like technique? I mean, in my head and my teaching, I'm like technique is the key and the tool to enabling you to express whatever it is that you want to express.
Yeah.
So do you find that you've got your technique is at a level where you're unhindered, or are you still kind of like, oh, it'd be nice if I could do?
Oh no, it's still like always. I'm like going for something and I miss it, or you know.
That means you're on the edge.
It's that like like last night I thought I was going to hit an F and I just hit nothing. I mean, it was pretty. We were getting pretty furious at that stage, and there was a lot of like shit going on. But
and you've been playing for like 7 hours. Or
I've been at it for a long time, so I was pretty tired. But I think that you never fully, what's the word? Like you never
match fit.
Yeah, you never completely match fit because there's only so much. I mean, the more you do it, the better you get at it, and But I think like as much as I practice, I can never like. I just feel like things get easier, but they're still hard. I just don't notice that the other things were hard because they were easier. But then the next thing is, or because you have proficiency, then you go for something else, and then that's the hard bit.
Sure, it's always always shifting.
Yeah, it's always shifting. I think like the more you know the instrument, the better that is. I mean, you can see from this. When I got this instrument, there wasn't a mark on it.
What?
It was in showroom condition.
Did you drag it behind your car?
Fucked it up. No, I've just played it a lot. I mean, even these cigarette burns from when I used to smoke, and you could smoke inside.
Because that's quite a kind of like vintage bass kind of look.
Well, people pay for this shit to pee on their bass.
They should just give it to you for a couple of years.
Yeah, just give it to me for a couple of years and this will happen to it. No, so I've like learnt all...
You know that.
Know the instrument inside out. I know where the notes are and where the strengths are and what... Yeah. What this sounds different to... or... Yeah. So I've got like all these different tonal... Options. Yeah. Which I think is great to... Like, so the more technically proficient you are, then the more you've got more options and to create like a different sounds from the instrument.
Yeah.
Which I think as a bass player is important, like, to be able to get different. Like I never was really into like playing like patterns too much, like across ways. I've always sort of tried to sort of go diagonally, like from there to here, you know, as opposed to, I don't know, from there to there to here, or from here to here to.
Like efficient, kind of, or
yeah, less efficient.
Less efficient.
Yeah, because I like the sound of the, as opposed to the.
Okay.
So I've always sort of, as opposed to, you know, and like that sort of vibe. So I think like, but I can do that, but I've found that I've worked on doing that too.
Okay.
Because the sonic quality, I think, is more even and bigger. So.
And bigger is better.
Yeah, bigger is better. Yeah, I don't want to play any thin,
bigger, better,
thin
more.
Bass parts. You know, I want them to all be.
I mean, it's not. You're not usually going to be in a situation where you're going to ask to have a thin sound.
No, a lot of people tell me to turn down, but
what do they know?
But not no, not thin. But yeah, I think having that, the more proficient you are, the more you can speak. Like the more, like you know, I'm not very good with like, I didn't do very well at English in high school. You know, I'm not good at like explaining my words in conversations very well. But
so far, so
like
good.
it's the same. It's on the. If you've got a certain word for something, you can be a lot more direct.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing, I think, on
the
bass. The more you across the language of the instrument itself, then the more you can say if you want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Sometimes you just want to have a dumb conversation over a few beers. You know, that's just totally cool.
Get that pick out and just open air.
Yeah, great. That's a good vibe.
Absolutely. So the Killing Heidi thing, how did that come around and stuff?
That came about through my good friend James Gilligan, who's another Melbourne bass player, and he wasn't able to do a run of the shows.
Right.
And he said, "Hey, I think you'd be a great fit for the band. Do you want to do it?"
Yeah.
I said, "Yeah."
Cool.
I hadn't really thought about. I didn't really think about what
that meant.
Yeah, I just was like, yeah, great. Like,
yeah.
I knew like Ella from doing shows years ago down here.
Okay.
And it's like, great, you know, like there's nice people. James was like, all the band's great. They're all cool.
Yeah.
It's like, great. I'm in. You know.
And that was it.
Send me the songs.
Is that still a thing?
Yeah, they're not doing much.
Yeah.
At the moment, but I think there'll be some couple of shows later in the year. But
you get a call.
Yeah. Which is great because it's a great bunch of people and great songs, and the people that come to the gigs really like the shows. So
that's always
nice,
a plus.
Nice result. Like that's all the things.
Yeah.
In one go.
So there's no audition process. It was just like James works for you and you turned up.
Yeah. And I think like in a band like that, you know, they're a band, and so there's like a lot of personality involved.
Yeah.
You're not really just coming in and doing a show. You know, there's a lot of hang time that, you know, they don't just want the guy to come in and just do the job.
Yeah. Fit.
Yeah, there could be there could be like a day of travel, there could be, you know, early flight and then just sitting around for half a day or, you know. So one day, you know, I think like one day was, we got to Gold Coast or something, and like the morning was like undie shopping with the girls, and then like drinking beers and watching the cricket in the lobby bar at the end of the, you know, like it's like that's you know, cool. some people aren't into that, you know. So it's like a certain personality that I think in any band, it's not just that band, I think a lot of I always sort of say like 90% personality, 10% musicality
for that,
you know, for a touring band, I think is
it seems that way. So who maybe were some of the bass players who did kind of inform your style and your playing growing up?
Early on, it was like Rage Against the Machine, that first record. You know, I remember when that came out, and when like Killing the Name was on the radio, you know, it was like, whoa, that's huge. And even when I was younger, I was like, wake up before like my parents didn't, silently pull the button out on the TV, try and do as quietly as possible to watch Rage, you know, at 5 a.m, and watch all these music videos. And then when that came out, it was like, I just remember like, just the power of it, you know, and hearing it was on commercial radio, so it was the shortened version, the single version. It didn't have the fuck you ending, you know.
Yeah.
And even then, I hadn't heard that, and it was like, whoa, it was like...
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah, it's huge. It was great.
And were you playing bass at the time?
I wasn't playing bass at that time.
Okay.
And then, but only like maybe 4 or 5 years later, was when I picked up a bass.
Okay.
And you know that album was still very current.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, I sort of started listening to. I had some friends that were really into Living Colour and all that Doug Wimbish stuff, and I started checking out him, and then his like all that Sugar Hill stuff that he played on, which I didn't know at the time, but he was like just ripping all these disco bass lines, you know.
Yeah.
So I would listen to all this stuff and just go, wow, it's cool. And then like, you know, the Doug Wimbish thing of like, you know, a million effects pedals, and that sort of tweaked me to all these other sounds that
were possible.
Yeah, just like, you know, I didn't really know that they were the bass. Or
well, especially in like a hard rock band to have like bass whammy action.
Yeah.
You know, it's still not the norm, and it never really was.
And probably never will be. It worked for him. I don't think it's worked for anyone else, but you know, he's just committed to it, and that's great. That sort of stuff. It's like I sort of like idolized that for a bit. So it was like him and that Rage Against the Machine thing, which was, and then
it's such a great sounding album, that first Rage Against the Machine album.
Huge. And seeing them live, it's like wow. There's so much sound that comes from just these. It's 3 guys really, you know, and it's just the width of the bass sound, you know. It's like just got all this presence. And
did you kind of geek out on his setup and stuff a bit? Because there's all these myths online, like
I haven't
change of winding on his pickups and
I just think it's all in his fingers.
Yeah,
you know, I can hear that there's probably like a few things that he does that I don't think it's like revolutionary. I mean, it just sounds like a big bass sound.
Yeah,
you know, I don't think it's. There's some tricks, I'm sure, you know, and there's a lot of stuff that's all covered up, but you know, it's just him playing a jazz bass a lot of the time, and it's through an Ampeg, and it's huge, and
it's a classic combo for a reason.
It's not like I don't think it's like totally unique.
No,
the sound, but yeah, there's secrets, and I think I maybe googled it once, and
then thought, this is a bit of a rabbit hole.
Yeah, exactly, especially because there's nothing else you can't really find out. What it is easily. Sure, one day it'll come out and it'll be like, oh great, it's just a Sanzant, you know.
It was the Behringer version of the Sanzant.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I was like,
oh great.
So you're like what, 14, 15?
Yep.
This time?
Yep. I had like some mates who I'd been to primary school with who were all starting to get into music, and you know, that classic thing. There was like lots of guitarists at school, and it wasn't, you know,
nobody wanted to play bass.
Yeah, I think also like certain personalities gravitate towards the bass. It's not really. It's pretty sort of thankless job at times, you know.
Yeah.
Like not, you know, I know everyone appreciates it, but it's like, it's not. You're not out in the it's not. You're not a front guy.
You're not doing it for the glory.
No, you don't do it for the glory. You do it for the music that you want to make.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's sort of why I've like sort of gravitated towards it.
So you just kind of doing the high school rock band thing?
Yeah, high school.
Red Hot Chili Peppers and.
Yep. Blood Sugar Sex Magic.
Yeah.
And playing in like, we didn't have a big music program at our school, so there was like a stage band, you know, where you played your Watermelon Man and and so you did some of that, and then there was also a concert band, which was like even like cheesier arrangements, but I was reading like the tuba part, you know.
Okay.
Because there wasn't a tuba player.
Of course not. Yeah. So you can read, or?
Oh, not really. I can't read, like, if you just put a chart in front of me, I couldn't read the dots.
Okay.
But I can sort of. I can't just read it I can't sight read it. But I can sort of. I know what's going on, and when I'm doing stuff for sessions or whatever, and I write out what I can follow, and it might be a bass part, and if I've played it and I've written it out, then
that's it.
That's cool. I can remember that, but it's more. But I can't really play to something put in front of me. I've been working on that slowly.
But I'm guessing you don't really come across that too much in your.
No, it's more like when I'm like learning exercises, like
I mean, there is a lot of material, teaching material out there that is in standard notation, I guess. There's that famous Joe Hubbard Basslines book with like the bunch of transcriptions in it. There's like some level 42 stuff and some Jacko stuff, and there's no tab. It's just standard notation. And even I find it's good to delve into like some cello stuff or some classical music.
Well, that's what I sort of, if I do practice, it's etudes and stuff. Yeah, and I've got them written out, and so that's what I've been like practicing my reading on.
It's good,
just like doing that.
There's something about that discipline of essentially playing. You're playing a melody from start to finish, kind of thing, or something resembling more melodic than you might normally do in your groove-based.
Yeah, and definitely if it's a cello piece, you're not normally playing those patterns.
No,
which I think is great.
Yeah,
because you sort of like open up the facility more for stuff that, going back to what we were talking about before, like if you're more fluent on stuff that you're not normally playing, and when you're playing like that, so you're rocking out there, but then you've got like you've got some sort of more facility because you've
played those different combinations.
You play those different combinations, and you're breaking those molds a bit, which is why I like them.
Yeah.
And it's sort of pleasing to the ear to play,
I think
as opposed to like a scale or
those classical people will know what they're doing a lot of the time.
Yeah. Yeah, and like when you get to the end and it resolves, and it's like, that's
how do we nice. Why are we here? Now I get it.
Like a nice thing you can play by yourself. It's like,
yeah, and I guess that's the other thing, is bass is generally something that sounds better in the context of other musicians.
For other people. Yeah.
Yeah. So what happens after high school?
Then during high school I met Jackie Orszaczky, who was a Sydney bass player, or Hungarian bass player, who lived in Sydney, and he sort of taught like most of Sydney about soul music. He was like a real institution. He had like a couple of regular gigs a week. He had this regular Tuesday in Sydney that was like packed, and like all the musicians came down. It was like we all used to hang out every Tuesday, get really pissed and watch Jack and his band, and that was my first, like, because I didn't come from a musical family.
Mm-hmm.
I realized that there was this thing of being a musician, like it was a concept. Like I'd never even thought about this. And so I met Jack and his bass player. He played piccolo bass. His bass player, Dave Symes, was a very good friend of mine. They were all super supportive. They like, come to the gigs, sit in, and just sort of from there, like Jack and I suppose Dave as well, like became sort of mentors. Yeah. And just like just show me the way. And Jack would always be like, he'd be having coffee in Erskineville, like the next suburb from where I lived, and just go and hang out with him and have chats and
soak it all up.
Yeah, soak it all up. Go around and have like little jams with him at his house, and then through that met like a bunch of musicians and started a few little bands and started playing little gigs. Like I had like a sort of soulish sort of band, and I had a dub band with some other guys, and just sort of started doing that around town, and then I suppose just that was a couple of years, and just did that, and you cut your teeth and you work out what kind of person you're going to be as you grow up, and all that stuff.
So maybe talk a little bit more about the Jackie thing, because he seems to be a unique figure in Australian music. I've only kind of come across him a few times, but he seems to be definitely held in high regard and sadly missed.
Yeah, definitely sadly missed. I suppose he played with a lot of people. He's a very good bass player. I think he was Marsha Hines' MD for a couple of years back in the 70s. He wrote strings for people. Okay. He wrote his own music. And he had he was from that generation of they'd do a whole bunch of gigs every week, just around Sydney. And he was a band leader and very good arranger, and just had that thing of being super supportive and would give everyone a go, but wasn't afraid to like shoot someone down if they weren't doing the right thing. You know, he had this like sixth sense. Like if you were, or if you were comfortable, like if you were like doing his gigs, like later in his life, like I think 2008 or 2007, I started doing some shows with him. And
so you were like his bass player and he's playing piccolo?
Yeah. And he didn't like to rehearse, you know, like he'd been doing it for so long, and they had so many songs. Like if you went around and rehearsed the songs you for the set, you wouldn't play any of those songs on the gig, which is great because it's a real baptism by fire. You know, you're just like, whoa, you know, you're in the deep end and you have to use your ears, and he wasn't, you know, he wouldn't play. If he was playing like here, you'd try and follow him. He might be playing second inversion, so this might be his E chord. You know, so you'd have to like more use your ears and follow. His hands. Which is great. Which is really a great way to learn music.
If they're accepting that it's not going to be perfect.
Well, I suppose if he would make it obvious, and you just had to use it. Well, not obvious, but he would lead enough that you would be able to follow him if you were using.
If you were tuned in, you could figure it out.
Yeah. Okay. And so you would have this, like if someone was like soloing for too long, he'd be like, "Hey, shut up!" Like clearly the band's done, you know, and you're still going. Or you had the sixth sense of like when you would play, and you'd be like, because there were so many songs. There was like 300 songs in the repertoire or something, and they were all pretty obscure songs. Like he'd rearrange
mixture of his and originals.
His originals, his rearrangements of like some pop songs, some like Meter songs, some Dr. John songs, and you'd be playing along and you think, oh fuck, the bridge is coming up in four bars, and you think, okay, cool, the bridge is coming up, and like 2 bars later he's called the bridge, you know, like just because he sort of like know that you're comfortable, and he's like seeing you like. And then you'd be like, man, you missed the bridge, you know, pay attention. So, but all that stuff is great because it really keeps you on your toes, and I think doing those gigs with him and just really like kick my ass, you know, a lot. It'd be like, or if you were playing like a groove at this, like if the drummer was playing like slightly the wrong kick pattern, he'd just keep telling them the kick pattern while they were playing until they got it. And the same with the bass, you know, it might be like, you might be missing one little skip or something, and then when you play it, then it's like, wow, once you've got it, it's really happening, you know. And then it's like his sense of groove and that sort of stuff, and not being afraid to
fix things
while it's happening. It was really great, and his vibe of like just, you know, like a good song is a good song was his vibe, you know. It doesn't matter how you play it. It's really, I think, a really cool approach. So it's like if a song is strong, then you can do some other version of it, and the song will still have the same. If you sing it with the same,
Did he sing?
Yeah, he sung as well.
Okay.
I suppose that's not really doing him as much justice as I probably could actually. Like I feel like you could do a whole. Look him up, Jackie Orszaczky. Orszaczky. He really, he left a lasting legacy on Australian music in general.
And obviously yourself.
Yeah, me and like so many musicians in Sydney who got to, and probably Melbourne, you know, who got to play with him and play with him a lot more than I did. You know, I was like just right at the end. That's why I don't feel like the best person to really talk about like everything, you know, about his whole story, because there's some great other older musicians and who just spent a lot more time with him.
But those situations, I think, are getting rarer in today's music climate.
Definitely.
You know, like to be able to be a young musician and be mentored by, you know, the older guys in a live scenario regularly.
Yeah, that doesn't really happen.
No.
Unfortunately, I suppose this is also like, I suppose Jack doing what he did in Sydney as well is quite unique. Like otherwise there'd be guys like touring and you wouldn't get to go and sort of sit in Mm-hmm. If it was a touring band, you know, you wouldn't get to go and see them regularly, like every week or and that older thing. I mean, I think about all those guys that have just played with, like, who are still doing the sessions today, you know, like who were doing the sessions in the 60s, you know, and to think like they've seen it all come through, and they've had like so much history and so much experience, and then we've come in at the end, and I think, well, not the end, but, you know, really later on.
We you know, our generation and you know, surrounding generations, like, you really have to make your own scenes, I think. Yeah. And find, like you were saying, like, find like-minded people and grow with them. Yep. If you wanna be out there and playing regularly.
Yeah, definitely. And I think being like flexible, like if you're just in that one thing, then you're not gonna grow entirely. You know, you might just grow with that one thing that you're doing. Yeah. So having someone like tell you what to do in a certain, it's like any form of learning, I think, like, you know, learning certain one thing that you can apply to lots of other things, also other genres or other skills. Yeah. I think. And
I just heard as well the other day that the basement's closing down in Sydney.
Yes. I don't know if it's closing down or past. The current owners are leaving. I don't know much about that. Okay. Yeah. Whole story, but it's
if it does, that's a bit of a blow, I think.
Oh yeah, I mean, Sydney's really going through some shit at the moment. Yeah.
Is that maybe part of your?
Oh, definitely. There's a lot. Of, there's so much happening. I think the more it's supported down here, the more it grows, and that's so obvious. That's why it's so great, you know. And the people come out and watch gigs, and musicians come out and watch gigs, and and it seems like the scene is very supportive, and there's lots of different things happening, so people get exposed to different shit, which I think is good. Definitely. I think it's really healthy when you go and, even when you do like some gig like it's like the Northcote Social Club down here, or Oxford Arts Factory in Sydney. It's like just going and like being at the sound check and seeing how another guy does his thing. Yeah, I think is like really healthy. You know, even if you don't watch the gig and just see how certain things happen, or see like what I like to see what the sound guy is doing to the stuff that's coming off stage, you know, like all that stuff.
Because then that informs what you do.
Yeah, like we were talking about before, like some of these like octave pedals that I've got, I don't run them too hard, because I know that if I run them too hard, then the compressor will just kick in harder and at the desk at front of house, and then you won't really hear the effect that I was trying to.
It won't give you the energy you're looking for.
No, it'll actually make it quieter. Actually turn down the bass instead of making it louder. So stuff like that, you know, I think it's like all that stuff is like really healthy to be exposed to that. Yeah. When you're trying to make music.
You got to realize that you're just one point in the chain.
Yeah, and just like seeing how other people do it, and seeing whether it's at a small gig or a big gig, or I think the more you can see people playing their own shit, the better, as opposed to watching a cover band or something that you're not really going to get as much from that. But seeing some guy like, I don't know, I feel like that comes from
just trying
just trying to see the best in every situation you might be in, you know. Like it might be that the sound's shit, but the drummer's great, or the drummer's shit but the sound's great, but it doesn't matter the drummer's shit because the vibe is really good. Or, you know, like I think like looking
at the big picture,
trying to look at it from a bigger standpoint is why I think that the Melbourne scene is healthier. Okay. Because you can see so much stuff happening. Yeah. And then that encourages people, and people get better. Yeah. Take more risks and
make more
music, you know.
So maybe let's talk a little bit about the pedal situation.
Yeah.
What was your first pedal? Can you remember?
Yeah, I do. It was a Boss flanger.
Flanger?
Because I was listening to Tool.
Okay.
Yep. And I don't use it anymore. I've still got it. Yeah. You know, and every now and then I think it would be a good idea to plug it in, and then that
then you
gets quickly turned off. It's a really horrible sound, I think, on the bass.
It's quite metallic.
Yeah, it's just not. It's not really my thing.
I think phaser can be quite pleasant.
Phaser's good. Chorus is good. But I think the flange is maybe pushing it for the bass. And then I think it was this octave pedal. This is the old EBS one.
Yeah.
And
that was my first pedal.
And it's great. I love it because it sounds like more bass. It doesn't sound like a synth, like the OC2, which I have as well. It just sounds like thicker. Yeah. Which is great for like
more kind of analogy.
Yeah, more real, less like a synth.
Mm-hmm.
Which is cool for like playing rockier stuff where you don't want it to sound synthy, you just want it to sound bigger.
Okay.
Like, I suppose that thing I was saying about like my diagonal approach, it's the same thing like with the octave pedal, like playing high but
with playing, the thickness on.
You know. So it's still like big when you're playing high.
Yeah.
As opposed to it being like a synth.
Yep. Synth
sound.
Have you done the OC2 synth thing as well? Or?
Yeah, I like last night and yesterday I had them both running.
Okay, yeah.
And I like the OC2 is good because you can do that, you know, the octave on thing. But just just using it just like a normal octave pedal, like how that one's set, it's just got a different vibe, different flavor.
Yeah, totally.
Which is cool for if you're doing synthier sounds.
Yeah.
But still want to play the electric bass thing. And then from there, it just exponentially spiraled to doom.
Is this like a small selection of what you have at home, or?
Yeah, it's probably about maybe a third or something. Look, there's not heaps, you know. There's it just depends on the gig, I think.
Yeah.
If I'm trying to emulate synth stuff, then there's some different things,
different chains and stuff.
Yeah, just like the micro synth, the electro harmonics is in there, and a compressor, which is sort of, I don't really use a compressor live, but I use that to sort of bring out the sound a bit more, just to give me a bit more evenness, because you know on a synth, if it's a mono synth, you've only really got one dynamic.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to even that out. I already do that with my fingers, but trying to even it out.
Okay.
A bit more to.
Yeah.
And then like the volume pedals like always in there so that I can get those sort of stay out of the way, the kick drum a bit, like if I'm doing. So that's not my sort of synthy chorus sound. So I might be like.
So you're like emulating like ducking side chaining?
Yeah, just a little bit of side chaining.
Cool.
Just sort of feels like I can pump it a bit, you know. I've just sort of come to those things by just playing around with different stuff and
And how do you like? I've always found like time domain stuff like reverbs and delays and even like chorus to an extent is hard to blend in right. And but also make it work in a live situation. Like here in this environment, you can get it's like sounds unreal, but when you get on stage, bass doesn't really lend itself too well to that kind of stuff. So what's your approach for?
Well, not to use them basically. It's like,
but they're there.
They're there. This board, the way it's set up, and in Killing Heidi, I play a bit of lap steel on 2 songs as well. So this does like both. So I think like analog delays are great for bass. Mm-hmm. Because they get out of the way, like when the tails are like
filtery.
Yeah, and there's no bass in them.
Yeah.
So you can sort of like get. So that's like the tails are like out of the way. So if you want to do something like that, I think that's a cool thing. Having some tap. You know,
do you have like a high pass filter on that, or it's just the way it sounds?
No, it's just the way analog delay sounds.
Okay.
And it's like, I think it doesn't have much delay time in it. This one, so it's like degrades pretty quickly.
Yeah.
The other way I've done it sometimes is with a loop pedal, like a effects loop style pedal, and use the volume and the delay like on 100% wet, and then just sent a signal to the delay.
Okay.
So obviously I can't do that now, but it would be like, so I'm playing like that.
Oh, so the bass sound's coming through, and then you can
just send that one note
to the delay.
And then that's coming back in, and then turn it back off, and so it's just like a little bit of extra texture.
Okay, cool. You can get a bit more expressive with it.
Yeah, like if you listen to that that remix of "I Want Your Love," that Chic song.
Yeah.
There's a remix by Todd. How does I say his name? TG or.
It's a great song.
Yeah, the remix is incredible, and there's one section where he's dubbing out the bass.
Okay.
The bass thing, and I've sort of like heard that, and I've gone, how can I do that live? I've played "I Want Your Love" live, but before, like, I've got a band in Sydney that we play like a lot of that chic disco stuff.
Yeah.
And how do I do that? Then it's like, okay, I've got these pedals, plug them in to get that sound.
Yeah.
I've sort of like approached, rather than having lots of pedals together, I've put them together and gone, how do I try and get this sound that I'm emulating?
Yeah.
So it's like the same with the synth thing. It's like maybe I put a Moog low pass at the end.
Okay.
And then the synth gets really all the with the low pass filter, all the high end information disappears, and you just get this thick modulated sound, which is cool.
Yeah.
Which is then sort of sounds more like a synth. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you can get a bit more dynamic with the. I'm not a synth bass player. Like, I play synth bass, but I'm not like one of those guys I'm not one of those gospel guys that only play synth bass. So this is like your insurance policy, that you get called for gigs that would otherwise maybe go to a synth bass player. Oh well, I don't think there's many gigs that go. So there isn't many synth bass gigs
around.
I mean, there's not really many bass gigs around for. But like, I don't think it's normally the keyboard player is going to be playing synth bass because they're not touring a bass player.
Yeah.
And then maybe you might need to play some synth bass on a couple of songs, which is cool. And then maybe there's the songs where you don't quite.
Yeah.
Probably better to play
something synthy,
electric bass, but synthy, or like there's like a fine line in some of that. So this sort of gets me out of those.
No, well, in this setup at least, no distortion or fuzz or anything.
No.
Do you use a little bit of that to get some synth stuff, like?
Yeah, I'll use
like sawtooth action.
Yeah, I'll use a bit of that, and then the micro synth has a square wave distortion in it.
That's right. Yeah.
I use and then filter that out, and then I have one of those cattle and bread SFT pedals that is normally always on.
Okay. What is that one? Is that a?
That's like emulating a SVT. It's like a SansAmp.
Okay.
But it's got some. You can drive it pretty hard.
Right.
And get some pretty cool, dirty sounds out of it.
Yeah.
So often that's on. That's often loose because I might just put it here, like pretending to be a SansAmp, like on the amp, or I might use it as an effect on the board if there's a Ampeg there, then I don't really need to have an Ampeg emulator going as well. So it all depends. Like there's two distortion pedals in the case.
Right. Okay.
That might get a run or might not, depending on what's happening.
Do you get I guess probably not quite so much, but do you ever get funny looks from the guitar player kind of thing when you rock up with the pedal board and they're like, "You've got more pedals than me"?
Or the sound guy,
Yeah.
It's like, it's like, mate, the guitar amp's on the other side of the stage, and there's the guitar player with like a tube screamer, you know. And they put down all this shit, and people are like, "Oh, what's going on?" Not so much now because I feel like it's become more common.
It's become more common, yeah.
But I've been doing it, like carrying around the pedal board for a while, and people would be like, "What? What's going on?" And then
and then you step on something halfway through the song, and they turn around and give you the nod, and it's like, "See?"
Yeah, well, they say, "No, don't fucking turn that off." Like, what are you doing? No, that hasn't really happened. But yeah, like there's definitely been like, "Are you gonna? Why you've you got all that stuff here?"
It's because I care.
Yeah, totally. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's like it's wanting to like give like that the bridge. I want to give the bridge the not with the delay pedal. But you know, I might want to just do that, make that bigger, and it's like, cool. That's how I can do it. Yeah,
it's actually because you care about the sonics and the song. You want to present it in the best way possible. Yeah,
and I think that's why it's good to like know what the pedals do and how they translate, and like I said, like translate out the front or in the studio, like, you know, just to see how they are gonna, like this meat box, you know, has so much bottom end information that you can't hear and the speakers can't hear, and you like your bass amp can't hear. But out the front, they might have an extra octave on the PA or half octave. And that just is just going to be mess. So knowing that if you throw that in there and they're not ready for it, it's going to be messy. If it's too loud and you, like I said, you've got a compressor on the bass, it's just going to turn the bass down. So it's that. Knowing what your stuff does to like, you know, and how it makes the song better, the performance better or worse. Hopefully. I mean, hopefully it doesn't make it worse, but knowing your place when you're going to be, how it's going to be in the mix as well.
Sometimes it can be hard to get it so it's there, but not too much, and just vice versa. Knowing
what the sound guy's going to do to it, you know how he's going to approach it. I suppose coming from, I haven't like ever really taught to make extra cash. I've always done like studio stuff or live sound or something. So I've got like an understanding of what happens and what you need to, what the sound guy needs to get. So I'm always sort of thinking about that when I play. So it's like, will this sound add? Will it translate the right way? When I use one of these sounds. If not, then it's probably not. Like, that's why I don't have a lot of drive, because I feel like if the bass is going to be super distorted, super compressed and super back in the mix, and just be like low end information, all that stuff is useless.
It doesn't really get there.
But if you've got like a good like definition and some dirt is giving you a bit of an edge, and you're playing right and it's getting mixed right, then cool, and that's like that's the right thing. Or using it like in the classic, in the guitar solo, or something is like
with the space for it.
There's a bit of space for it, and you need to bring up the I might use drive and like the octave, and just start playing up the octave so that it's just a wider sound.
And what about this input machine that you use?
This one? This is a 1974 jazz bass. Pretty much stock. I've had it refretted twice.
Really?
I think when I got it, it was on its way out, and then I've just had it refretted again.
The old bound fingerboard making that an easy job?
Well, this makes it more expensive for me to pay the guy to do it. He did a very good job. Frank Grabisa in Sydney, who makes guitars as well. What else is badass? Bridge.
Classic.
These are Nordstrand hum cancelling. I've got the stock pickups, and I swapped these out about 5 or 6 years ago, and it's great because you can just run front pickup, no hum, which is sort of cool because I'm not really a back pickup guy, but I definitely like the front pickup.
No hum. So they do exist.
And they sound pretty close. They do compress. They feel like I don't know. It's the modern thing. I'm not sure, but like. Just got a tiny bit of compression in them.
Okay.
But now that I've had them in for so long,
you're used to it.
Don't notice. But the hum cancelling thing is great.
So you took the pick guard off?
I've still got it as well. A lot of people think it's a Jaco thing. It's actually because I move around this part of the body a lot. So as you can see from these wear marks. And I find it a bit easier to play with it off.
Okay.
And if I'm playing like sort of any thumb stuff, which isn't that often, but I just like that extra space.
Okay.
Because my technique's not very good. And it's probably a bit forceful. And so just that any extra space around under here is
Yeah. And what's caused the kind of bubbling?
Oh, it's the old finish. It's the nitro finish.
It just does that. Mixed with sweat and...
Yeah, sweat and humidity and...
Maybe some beer?
Yeah, probably a bit of beer, though. I try not to get it on the base, you know, try to keep it in my mouth. It's sort of just... It's funny, I think it's sweat, and if I'm in a humid place or like a cold place, I take this bass out of the case, like if it's been on a long flight, all this is like opaque. It goes all opaque and it becomes really sticky, and so it's like you can see it's got some like fur on it from a case that it's been in where that's happened overnight or something, and
kind of loosens up.
Yeah, it just sort of and then it's really soft.
Yeah.
Once that happens, and it just gets all gets all shit.
Was this the red on this section here? Or what?
That's from the sunburst, you know. So then when they spray it sunburst, they go.
Oh, so you've got like a layer of red, and then...
Yeah, you can see how on that there it's like, it's quite, the shading isn't very good because there would have been a pick guard on there. Yeah. But...
There's pretty much no red. You know,
yeah,
everything was all...
but so I think they go yellow, red, black.
Right.
And so the red's the...
The red stuck around.
Red's the last one on there.
And Larry Graham?
Larry Graham.
Signature?
Yeah. I also say John Farnham, it looks very similar. But I'm not sure which is better. I think Larry. Yeah, that was like a couple of years ago. He was out here for Blues Fest, and a friend of mine was doing front of house at that gig at the basement, and he was like, "Man, come down and say hi." And it's just like I've like checked out so much. I reckon, yeah. Like, no, I suppose maybe when I was 17, I heard that. Was it
The Jam?
No, it was like Sly and the Family Stone, that first record. I've forgotten it now. Oh, shit. It'll come back to me.
Yep.
And heard that and was just like, wow, this is so cool. You know.
So foggy.
Yeah, and just like all that, like thank you for letting me be myself again, you know, like just that sound was like, whoa, just like all the parts of what was going on there, you know.
Yeah.
The tone, the groove, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I was like, I really checked a lot of that Sly stuff out, and then later the Graham Central Station stuff, which is like cool. Yeah, it's not as cool as the Sly stuff, I think, because there's no, it's just him. There's no Sly Stone, so there's a lot of that music that came through that thing. All those guys working together. Yeah, and then went to beat him, and I just thought, shit, I'm just gonna. There was like talk of like, you know, you can get up and sit in, and I thought, I'll take a bass down. I thought, no, I'm gonna get him to sign it, you know. Yeah. Because he's like one of the only guys, like, I reckon
that you would.
Yeah, that I would like to.
Yeah.
I'm not really I don't know. I don't need to have my bass signed by lots of people or anything. You know, it's not one of those things. But he is quite influential. And just went down, had a chat, and you know, said, you know, can you sign this? And he was like, whoa, it's seen some miles. And then then got him to sign it, and then got up and had a little play with him, which was really
terrifying. Or
it wasn't terrifying. It was just like a bit of fun. It seemed pretty casual, you know, because we'd had a chat beforehand as well. So
he was cool.
He was like, I knew he was cool, and then a few other guys had got up, and so I knew what was going on. And
did he? Because when he played here, I think he had 2 DB410s for backline, and then 2 Aguilar DB410s facing him.
What did he have? I think he had 2
with like the DB750, 2 of those heads.
I think he had something different, but he had like 8 10s aside.
8 10s aside, yeah, it was monstrous.
And what was interesting was that they had a graphic EQ in the effects loop on the bass heads. Yeah, I'm not sure if you saw that at the Melbourne show, and they'd notched out like the frequency. They'd sort of rigged the frequency of the room, so there wasn't any sort of notes that really boomed. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I noticed that even though it was a massive rig, it was
very clean.
Yeah, it was super clean. I think that had a lot to do with it, like pulling out just that one note that like just is too loud.
Yeah.
You know, and they just notched out that note, and then so when he played, it was like, Jesus, so loud. But it was tight.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, so it was cool. It was, you know, just went up and did the thing, and
that's cool, man.
You know, not being a solo guy, I just went up and did
some groovy.
Yeah, just sort of played along, and that was fun, and then that was it. It's like got off stage, it's like, what the fuck just happened? That was wild. You know,
that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, a big proponent of like, I've got mates who like change instruments all the time. I think it's really good to play the one instrument for a while, and you really start to find like the notes that sing and the notes that don't, and the sounds that come out of it.
Yep. Do you have any other basses as well?
Yeah, I've got a bunch.
P bass,
so you know, like a 60s reissue P bass, a 60s Burns jazz bass from England.
Yeah.
Which is super cool. It's like got like Strat style pickups and short scale.
Yeah.
Got a Yamaha, like an SB2, like a 60s.
Super bass.
Yeah, just like a bunch of little different things for different
sessions and
different flavors and sessions and stuff like.
But this is generally number one.
Yeah, this would be number one. I just bought a 78 Music Man, which is becoming number one
for your Killing in the Name of.
That's the bass, and all that Bernard Edwards chic stuff. That's all that stuff, and even like with Killing Heidi playing, I think it's a better bass to play rock with.
Just that chunk.
Yeah, I missed the bottom end of the low bottom end, but you can just wind that in. It's just like sits a bit when there's lots of guitars. It sits a bit, pokes out a bit more. Yeah, and it's because it's active. It's just got a bit more.
It's interesting, you know, Lewis Johnson and Bernard both used that sound.
Yeah.
For the disco stuff.
It's a good sound. It's really hit.
Well, is it a good sound because we've heard it in that context and it's just like, yeah, that's what we associate with that thing?
Well, I think that's a lot to do with it. I think like same with the Fender bass and the Ampeg. You know, it's like you plug the Fender bass into the Ampeg amp and it sounds like all the bass that you've ever heard. Yeah. You know? And yeah, I think there's like a lot to be said about that. Like, you know, but if you look at like Queen and then all that disco stuff and the Michael Jackson stuff, it's like, I suppose it's a broad array of sounds. AC/DC, like Back in Black and I think Powerage were recorded on or some of it was recorded on a Stingray. Yeah. So it's like pretty, you know, when you hear it, it's like, oh, okay, that's the.
Didn't Pino?
Yeah, all that fretless stuff was all fretless Stingray.
Yeah.
You know, and all that Tony Levin stuff as well is all Stingray. Not all of it, but you know, like there's some typical Stingray sounds that come out of those Peter Gabriel records as well. Yeah. So that's quickly becoming the other go-to is that Stingray.
Is it blonde?
Yeah, it's all natural.
Yeah. I think I had a 88 or 89 that was all natural, and I got a see-through pickguard put on it for extra disco. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's the only thing that I've struggled with is the color. I didn't think it would bother me. Yeah. Ah. But it's just like all the other instruments I have are sort of dark. And this is like, it's a different thing. You know? It's like, whoa, hang on. It's like when you try and wear like a pink shirt or something and you've been a dark shirt guy.
You're not confident enough to rock it yet.
It's getting there. Yeah. It's like, I just didn't think it would affect me, but it definitely has a little bit.
But it's good that you brought up Bernard Edwards because I think he's one of those. A lot of the time he's not really brought up in the, you know, the echelons of bass heroes, so to speak. But for me personally, I think he's, you know, an incredible example of creativity and tone. Yeah. And you know, time.
And he had his own technique as well, which you know, I can't play it. It's, you know, that's sort of like, I think he's sort of like,
Yeah.
Sort of doing this half picking thing, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like I kind of have no idea of how to play it, but it's something like that, you know.
And I've watched videos and it just looks like
it's just like his hands just like flopping away at it.
Yeah.
And it's really cool. Like that sound is so unique.
Yeah. But I think also his use of space, like his sparseness and stuff like that, note length, it taught me a lot about.
Yep.
You don't have to play all the time, kind of thing, to have a bass line.
No.
You know, leaving that space for the backbeat and building your bass line. I thought he was really good.
Yeah, there's a lot of those bass lines that are incredible. Like just the way how well designed they are, for want of a better term.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it's heavy stuff.
Yeah, man. And so recently you've been doing some more, I guess, modern pop.
Oh yeah,
around the place.
Around the place. So it's a couple of funny little, like session calls, I suppose.
Yeah.
I don't really refer to myself as a session musician. I suppose I am half the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that we did a little show with Rita Ora in December, which was pretty fun down here in Melbourne.
Okay. Whereabouts was that?
That was like a promo thing at South Bank somewhere.
Okay.
Where all those shops and stuff are. There's some like wedding venue place there, and yeah, that was cool. That was an interesting like thing that of like we're doing 6 songs. There's like a few moments where there might be synth bass.
Yeah.
And like for the half a verse or something. And that's that thing. It's like, well, we get to the first rehearsal and we have a moog there, and it's like we can do this. But then it's like, look, for half the thing, just
it's only bass.
Yeah, it's only going to be just making everything rumble anyway. You know? So, so that, and then which was fun. That was really fun. It was an interesting way of like rehearsing. We didn't really rehearse with her at all.
Okay.
We sort of just
she wasn't here, or
she wasn't here. She like literally flew in and sung. Like we had half a rehearsal, and then which was like pretty full on, because we're sort of rehearsing without the singing, and like I using the singing for all my cues on how long the song's going for, and it's not really there.
Is this the chorus? Or
Yes, it's just is this the verse that has the stop in it, or is that the next one, or the
how do you go about absorbing repertoire?
I tend to, depending on the gig, I find that if I write a quick chart, I can like visualize the structure of the song, especially if it's like knowing where to put the bridge, and then I just sort of learn it, and then just have to just
over and over.
Yeah,
and over
no,
again.
I just like, it's normally hearing. It's not so much playing.
Just hearing.
It's hearing, so I can hear where the harmony's moving and what the bass is doing against that, and then
once you pick it up, it's
then it's like cool. It's like it goes to the 4 chord there, and then it goes to drops down to -6, and then like you just start to hear that, and then just using like the chart to sort of prompt those parts that they're the crucial parts, like the double chorus or the bridge or the things that you can't really wing.
Yeah, don't forget.
No, don't forget the bridge. No, whatever you do. We just and we rehearse, and it's just like committing, knowing when to read and focus on something, and know when you can use your ears. I suppose is another thing, I was lucky enough to do a TV show about 10 years ago where we played every week and we backed people, and
cool.
It's like a quick learn, like the songs might come through on the Tuesday and we had to be rehearsing on Wednesday, and just learn how to write stuff out quick and learn what the things that you need to prompt yourself for, and the things that you don't, so that you're not just like following the chart
for stuff you don't need.
Yeah, and it's like you just, but there's like, cool, you just look down and go, we've got 8 bars of this, and then we're going to go to the next thing. It's like just working out. Everyone's got a different way of doing it, but I think that doing that was like really cemented a workflow for me. And then from that, it's like I feel like you just get better at learning songs the more you do it. yeah, so that was cool. That was cool because it was like some of those synth things meant that I could use some pedals to get.
Like finally.
Yeah, finally, and the MD was like, great, that's cool, you know.
Okay.
And the same thing with the Joey Bada thing I did last month or month before. The same thing. There's like a few parts where there was like some super chorus sounds and there was some sub sounds.
Yep.
And they were just going to run them off track. And it's like, well, I can.
I'm here.
Yeah, I can do it here. And it's like then we're not like when we're just all playing as a band, and it's great.
Cool.
You know, and I don't have to bring in a Moog.
Yeah.
Which is just another thing. Two things to carry: a stand and a keyboard. You know, it's like cool. I'm totally happy not to do that and carry less, and you know, and then not have to concentrate on changing instruments and just play the one thing. So it's been good. It's been a nice little change to sort of just do some just different things.
Some kind of high profile session stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose I don't see it as. I suppose it is high profile. I don't see it as high profile, but I suppose it's just like it's just fun to be in that environment where it's moving quick and it's like you only get one shot at it.
Yeah, it's like the culmination of all the stuff that you've been working on to some extent.
It's like you refine your shit to be good at this stuff, and it's great when someone goes, hey, come do it for me, and you've got like one go, and it's it's cool. It's like it's different from playing live in a band because even it's pretty much the same gig, but you sort of got a bit more. You might have a few more rehearsals, or you might the first gig's always cool to. Everyone's a bit like finds their feet, and you're working out how to play with the drummer or whatever. And in this instance, you don't really have that. You just got to go in and do it straight away, which is what was exciting about doing the Sideshow those years ago. Was that sometimes you'd just meet the artist on the day and you'd sort of work the song out, and then all of a sudden you're playing it, and it's one shot and it's the TV, so it's like that's it. There's no you can't make a mistake, and if you do, it's there for you for life. Which lucky I don't think I actually made any like proper mistakes on that show, which was good.
That's impressive.
Always nice.
Yeah,
it's good. I think having a good MD helps like like understanding how the band plays together, and what needs to happen and what needs to be rehearsed, and what those things, and the right guys, like the right drummer, so that you're not like not thinking about that.
Maybe seeing yourself more of an MD position.
Yeah, I've done a bit of it. It's when it happens. It's great to work with teams who you know, and it's like, and you just get going straight away, and you know the result. You know how people's personalities mesh, and you know how they approach their instrument, and then so it's great. You can get in, and then that you can make the music. You can stretch out something, or the band will go this way if you want them to, because you know that they go that way. Yeah, which is exciting. I think that's really a fun thing to do. Yeah,
and I guess you've seen that, from working with Jackie as well, and modern stuff. You've got a wide source to draw from in terms of how to work with different musicians.
Yeah, how to engage people.
How to get the best out of people.
Definitely.
But still how to realise the vision of the artist or the song.
Yeah, that's the thing, is getting the best out of people. It's like when you're in those positions where just any position. It's not just music. It's like knowing that when you go somewhere and it's like some cafe manager's been talking down to the person, you can tell that it's like they're not getting the best of from that person.
It's going to be a bit blunt.
Yeah, exactly. But if they'd just been supportive, and they'd probably be great. Because
they'll end up going that extra mile.
Yep.
And
then the person, if like in that MD situation, if you feel like you can suggest something, and if the idea is going to get listened to, or and the mutual respect means that if it's not a good idea, they'll just go no, and you go cool.
And you're okay with that.
No. I'm not going to go home and cry about it. It's like cool, like that's totally understandable, and it's having everyone together like that. It's great because you can then you get a great result, because it's like I hadn't thought about that. Hadn't thought about dropping the bass out for for 4 bars there, or whatever,
or slap bass solo.
Or just turn all the pedals on and slap bass solo. 16 bars and then end the song. It
should just be always your default suggestion.
It's a terrible suggestion. I've got to say, I'm not a fan of slap bass solo.
One of these days, you know, one of these days we'll go, actually,
I think blues festivals have wrecked that for everyone. The slap bass solo. It's like, I get it. I had this when I first did my first mission to the States. You know, when I'd done some bunch of touring and my first pilgrimage and had a bit of cash and went over and had a lesson with Rhonda Smith in LA.
Wow.
And it was great. She was really cool. She was like, we had a lesson and there was a drummer there, which was great because it was like, try playing this, and then the drummer could count it in, and
awesome.
You know, and it was great to have a lesson like that because we were like focusing on, like, I didn't need to get taught how to play a scale. You know, I was like wanting to check out some certain things, and so with the drummer there, it was like really cool to play off that. Yeah. And have him there like just playing a groove so I could work out what that thing was, rather than trying to work, like you can't feel it the same way.
Yeah.
But she's of that thing, you know, like, you know, maybe you get 4 bars if you're doing one of those big high profile gigs. You have like 4 bars to show everyone your shit. So you've got to.
What are you going to do?
You've got to have the thing. You've got to have the facility and it was great having that lesson because I was like, that's not me. You know, I was like, cool, that's you, and I totally respect it. Yeah. But that's not. Don't think I'm that guy. I don't have the 4 bars.
Don't have the
of magic in me.
Triplety.
I don't have that thing for the blues festival crowd. Yeah. Which is cool. But it was interesting. Like, it's good to like have that chat. And she taught me some cool shit, and just that whole thing of having heaps. Her vibe was like having heaps in reserve, so that, like, facility wise, like way further than what like we were talking about before. Like, so that you could.
So she's pretty handy.
Play anything. Yeah, she's like 3 fingers and. Like lots of like all her techniques are like lots of stretching stuff and like very quick facility.
Yeah. And one thing that stuck out to me about Rhonda was she always seemed to have a great tone.
Yeah, I think that's from just having all that facility.
Yeah, control.
The control is there. Yeah, there's a lot of. There's not enough, like you said, about control when you in bass playing, like when you're learning. You know, something you sort of learn yourself. Yeah. Like how long a note should be. Yeah, and all that stuff, and that's what defines how cool really something sounds.
Definitely.
And it's not. You can't really teach it though.
No, you can be made aware of it.
Yep.
Think about listen to Bernard Edwards or listen to
or Willie Weeks or any of those any of the great bass players.
Exactly.
Yeah. But some people don't get past, can't hear that.
No.
Or takes them a while. Yeah, which is we all learn at different paces.
Indeed. And we're probably going to wrap it up because I've got to get you to the airport.
Yes, that's right.
That was awesome, man.
Thanks, Craig.
Yeah.
Good chat.
More than welcome.
Cheers.
Yeah, Tim CURNICK, everybody.